Hey everybody, Matty Ice here, coming back with another Solar 3.0 Warlock build. For this build here, we're going to be making use of a couple different things, primarily Dawn Chorus, and then the new Incandescent perk on several of the new weapons here. So I'll start with the armor. So Dawn Chorus, if you're not aware, make sure Daybreak projectiles applies Scorch, and also the big factor here is your Scorch deals more damage. So it roughly translates to about a 3 times increase in damage. It's kind of variable. So like I think it's about a 4 times increase on the initial explosion from Incandescent. The tick damage is about 3 times, but it roughly translates to about 3 times damage. And then you also get some of your melee energy back whenever you deal damage with Scorch, which is essentially like a free aspect. Going into the arms, you're going to have a little bit of flexibility here. I personally think solar arms might be better. I have my void ones equipped, but I don't have a good solar arm to make this build work at the moment. So going into solar arms here, you mostly would want to go into impact induction, because that's going to get you your grenade back faster as you're spamming your melee. This build is all about spamming melee and grenade, so having that ability is kind of nice. With void, if you do go void gloves, bolstering detonation always good. Focusing strike, kind of the same thing, where you're getting your ability back, your class ability back on either of those based on melee or grenade damage. I also put high energy fire in here, and I'll talk about why in a second. Also on the helmet, I well of life, if you didn't see that earlier. Chest piece, taking charge, or sorry, elemental charge to become charged with light, and then the seasonal armor. On the boots, we're going to go Font of Might, since we are using a Callus mini tool primarily for our damage, and then some invigorations. And then on the class, we've got Explosive Wellmaker for more wells, Bomber just so we can get our class ability back quickly. These are a little bit replaceable, and then a Discipline mod, which I have on there instead of the 5 resilience. Again, you can play around with that a little bit. If I wanted to drop my discipline, I'd put in the 5 resilience to get up to 100, and then it kind of frees up a little bit of energy. Now, you may have noticed I'm not doing classy restoration. That's primarily because I want this build to work after the season's over. So I'm trying to play around Well of Life instead of classy restoration. For weapons, Wither Horde, always a good primary one to have. This does proc Explosive Wellmaker, so that's why I've got Explosive on there. Callus Mini Tool, kind of the keystone here of our build, with Incandescent. I also have Threat Detector, haven't decided if I want to enhance that yet. And then you also want to put on Dragonfly. This does increase the radius and damage of incandescent explosions, so that's something new that I found out. And then fixed odds, I don't have one at the moment, and I can't craft one, but this can roll with incandescent, so you would want to run this as your heavy, just so you can quickly proc incandescent, and it's got that 40% damage buff since the machine gun rework. Going into the actual aspects and fragments here, because Dawn Chorus is kind of built around Daybreak, we are going to run Daybreak, although if you are doing something more challenging, go Well of Radiance, it's perfectly fine. You're just missing out on a little bit of scorch damage from Daybreak, but survivability is always important. Abilities, since we are not doing our Starfire Protocol build, we can switch back to Healing Rift. Feel free to use Phoenix Dive if you want. These are kind of interchangeable. I might actually go Phoenix Dive though for this one, because I am running Heat Rises, So you can see I'll be able to gain restoration and be able to scorch targets if I have heat rising active. So I will do that. I prefer my burst glide. Celestial Fire is the one I've picked here. Either one works, they both apply scorch stacks. One thing to note is base cooldown is slightly different, not a huge difference here. You got a minute 40 versus a minute 30 base. The main reason I'm going with Celestial Fire is because it's got the range on it. So I want to be able to hit things at range. I'm also going to go Healing Grenade. If you want to go full on Scorch, I recommend Solar Grenade. But again, because I want this to be kind of a mid to high tier build, I am going to run Healing Grenade and just focus on my weapons to apply the Scorch stacks and explosions, and then use Healing Grenades to stay alive along with my Phoenix Dive. Aspects, Touch of Flame is the only necessity. This just makes your grenades better. Heat Rises, you can swap that for Icarus Dash. That's kind of a preferential one. The main reason I am keeping Heat Rises on here is because it does build on Phoenix Dive, and also it's a great way to get your melee back pretty easily. You can just jump and shoot, kill a few things, get your melee energy back quickly. For Fragments, we got Empyrean, so we do keep our Restoration Radiant active for longer. Torches to just apply Radiant to ourselves. Ashes to apply more Scorch stacks. And then Searing to get melee energy when we defeat things with Scorch. So since we will be scorching a lot of things, our melee should be up all the time, especially with Heat Rises. We should have no shortage of melee attacks. So yeah, that's essentially the concept of the build here, is to, make ourselves radiant, kill things with mini tool, become scorched, and spread that scorch with Incandescent and Dragonfly mod. So going back to why we are running high energy fire, the damage from Incandescent is based on the gun damage. So anything we can do to boost our weapon's damage is going to boost that scorch damage. And then that's going to be multiplied by Dawn Chorus. So ideally, what we would end up doing here is getting high energy fire, so become charged with light, to get that extra 20% damage. Also, we have Font of Might in here. We would also want to become radiant if possible, and then we would apply our scorch stacks and incandescent damage. So in theory, that should just melt any kind of room of red bar adds, yellow bar adds, and it'll do significant damage to bosses. So I loaded up here the Sever Forgiveness mission. I'm just going to kind of walk through some of these intros. See if we can get it grouped up here. Here we go. Oh, so that guy wasn't close enough. So there we go. See, that guy died from the scorch damage. The yellow bar died from the scorch damage. Trying to get you some numbers here. You can see we got 2,800, 27. Boom, dead. We got these yellow bars, or I guess they're orange. See, you can see they tick down very quickly. And even these wraiths, which are pretty tanky, one incandescent explosion nearby kills them. So that's kind of the concept here, is you just do that explosion damage in a group of adds, and they all just kind of burn. Since we are doing drifting apart here, this is why I'm running the grenades. So I can either eat it to heal because I've got Heat Rises active, or I can just throw it on myself because it's a healing grenade. So at this point, I'm going to cut probably to the boss room, and then I will show you what it looks like when we get to that point. Alright, I thought I would pick it back up here before we get to the boss room, because this is an area with a lot of adds, so I think we can really show the effectiveness of the add clear in this build here. So again, we're going to start off try and get some explosive wells become charged with light, become radiant. I'm gonna start just exploding these guys. You can see we're just doing massive damage to these red bars. The unfortunate thing is you do kind of need them to group together here for it to really be as most effective as it could be. There we go, so there's a yellow bar in there. You see, he was pretty far away from that explosion, but still took a lot of that damage.
Zavala sees Hakim's face in these phantoms, and in you, brother.
I want to see him. I close my eyes, but they're only flashes. I try to remember him exactly as he was. I try.
I see his face too. Anemic and choked. Fear and pain I cannot stop. Then nothing. And I am alone.
Forgive me.
Alright, here we go. Now we got some stronger stuff we can hopefully show it off on. See, that guy died from the scorch damage. This guy's a bit tankier. Let's see if we can lure him over there. And then one of the cool things we can do is stack Wither Horde on top of that tick damage to get some double ticks going. But yeah, so I mean, you can see that it cleared that room pretty well without really any issue. Again, it kind of comes down to upping your gun damage and being able to have the adds grouped together. So again, I'll cut back to when we get to the boss room. Alright, so here we are back in the boss room. Clear that one guy, you can just see they're kind of falling by the wayside back there. You only have to kill a handful of these adds to wipe out the entire group. So now that we got the boss here, I'm going to try not to ignite him this time. So you can see it's actually pretty easy to get the ignitions with just like 2 explosions of incandescent nearby. And then to give a look at Daybreak here, I think you can see it briefly, but it's like 44,000.
Manifests from the harvester.
Again, if you did this with the machine gun, you'd be getting a lot more. Well, I wouldn't say a lot more, but you'd be getting different numbers because of the way that the incandescent damage is calculated, and you'd be probably have an easier time proccing incandescent because you'd be able to one-shot most of these red bars. Right. So you see we're doing like 3,500, sometimes like close to 4,000 on the initial explosion. And now if I get a couple of them together, you see it just wipes out that whole clump. And again, I'm kind of reiterating the point here. That's with Radiant active, so I'm going to try and do it. Should give you some damage numbers here while charged with light. Alright, so we got Radiant active, charged with light. Give me a group of ads here. Unfortunately not getting a good group together. There you go. You see charged with light, it was 3,500 for a brief second, and then it dropped down to the 2,400. Alright. We're charged, we're radiant. You see that tick damage is 4,300. So that just kind of shows that like the radiant and the charge with light do stack. It's just a matter of keeping your charge with light up while you're doing ad clear. It's mostly going to be for boss damage, so you can just do that extra 20% to the boss. But yeah, I just wanted to show off that it does actually stack.
Don't let up, gun. Be brave.
Oops. I keep forgetting with the healing grenade. I occasionally still sometimes throw it at the boss. But you can see this has a pretty good potential for
manifests from the harvester.
after the season's over. Yeah, I'm able to heal myself with the grenade, with the class ability. So I think once Classy Restoration goes away, this might be a build that I go to if I ever go back to Solar. But yeah, so that's the build and a little bit of a demoing. So let me know what you think, if you'd make any changes, any suggestions in the comments below. As always, I'd love it if you could like and subscribe. I'm trying to grow the channel, and anything you can do, I would be greatly appreciated. And yeah, just let me know what you think. So, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.